will be, any questions on whatever we covered if we kind of move forward to the next topic. No questions? Okay, good. So we'll talk about regions and zones. Okay, this is there in every cloud. Okay, different cloud actually calls it as a different way, but in Azure, we will be calling it as regions and zones. We will understand what is regions and zones is in detail. And this is a very, very important topic. Please do, give importance to this and be attentive. Okay. Okay. Let's take this. So let's say you have a data center in London region. Okay. Imagine that your application is deployed in a data center in London. Okay. For a second, let's forget about the cloud. Let's think that this is the data center which is deployed in London. Okay. You have an application which is deployed in London. What are the different challenges that we actually see? Deploying it in a data center which is okay. Challenge one is slow access for users from other parts of the world. That means if there are users who are accessing it from US or India, there will be a slowness in accessing the application. Okay, just want to take a little bit of time in explaining this. Just put some diagrams around, just to make it a little bit more clear. Say this is my, this is okay. This is UK. Okay, and I'll actually have another one. Say this is. So let's say I have my application deployed here in UK, and I have my application deployed here in India, right? And then let's say I have a user. Okay, I'm gonna use this for user, right? So let's say I have a user sitting in UK, and there's I also have the UK user sitting in India. So let's say there is an application deployed in UK here, and then this particular user is trying to access the application which is sitting here. So this is much simpler, much easier, because he's sitting very close to the application. He is able to access it. No problems. If the same thing has to happen from here, okay, the distance from India to UK, you see the line here, the distance is bigger. So obviously it will take a lot of time, or it will take additional time for the person who's sitting in India to access the application which is sitting in UK. Okay, so the person who is in UK will be able to access the application faster, but the person sitting in India, the application accessibility will be slower. Okay, does that make sense? Because you see the distance, the line here is a smaller, that means the access is faster. The line here is a bigger, that means the access is slower. Make sense? Right? So that's the slowness that we're talking about here. What if the data center crashes? So tomorrow, let's say this particular data center actually crash. Okay, that means here in our diagram, this particular data center, let's say this goes on. Okay, this particular data center actually goes on. Then how do you go over this? What happens? So if this particular data center goes down, what happens to our application?
There is always a replication of our data, so it can
see in this example that we're talking here, Diti, okay. In this example that we're talking, we only have one data center called London, and we have our application deployed in that London data center. Okay, so we don't have any other location. We just have one location called London, and then under that location we have installed our application, and for some reason that data center where we have deployed application crashes. Okay, that means the data center becomes unavailable. What happens to our application? What happens to our application? Will I be able to access the application? from India or from London, from anywhere?
No, then it will not accessible from India.
So there is an impact to the application availability. Correct. So when I say availability, I mean, the word availability is a very, very important word. Okay. So when I say availability, that means whenever a user is trying to access the application, is that application available for the user to access, or is it down for some reason? That is what is called as availability. So that is why you see, if you have only one data center, an application is deployed, if that particular data center goes down, the challenge that we have is with the low availability. Okay. So if the data center is up and running, the application will be available. If the data center goes down for some reason, the application will not be available. That is what we're calling it as a low availability. The challenge we have with a single data center, deploying an application on a single data center, two major challenges. One is the slow access for the users from the other part of the world, right? Say if it is deployed in London, any other country like India or Germany, UK, I mean sorry, US, any other country that you're trying to access this application from, there will be latency there, so there will be a delay. And the second challenge we have is the availability. So if this particular data center goes down, the availability of the application is low. These are the two major challenges that we have. Now, this is the single data center thing. How do we solve this? Okay. Now, can I have two data centers in the same region? London. Let's take an example where I have two data centers in the London and the application is deployed in both the data centers. Okay. Now, say I'm going back to my diagram here. Okay. So what I'm doing here is I am going to have another, data center created. Okay. So I am going to have another data center created here in UK itself. And then I will have my application deployed here, right? Both of these are in UK, right? And what happens in this case? So in this case, the challenges that the initial challenges that we had, is this going to solve the slowness of the users? Just adding another data center in the same region where our primary data center, one more data center was there. Will it solve the slowness? Will it solve or
No,
will it not?
no,
No, it will not, right? Because the data center is still in London. I am trying to access it from India or US. The time it takes for the application to load is same because the data center is still in the same region. Now, what does it solve? The other thing that it solves is what happens if the data center crashes. So if one data center crash, the application will still be available, right? Because there's a other data center. So there are two data centers. The application is deployed on both the data centers. So if one data center goes down, the data will still be available on the other data center. So availability is still there. So the challenge we had with one data center was low availability, but if we have two data centers, the availability goes up. That means we have still availability. Okay, so we're solving the second problem that we discussed here. What if the data center crashes? But we're not solving the first problem. Okay, high latency is not something that we are solving. We are only solving the second problem. That is the next is, what if the entire region goes down? There's a third question. There's a third challenge that comes in saying what happens if the entire region goes down? That means there is a natural calamity that's happening in London. There's a heavy rains. Okay, there are a lot of floods. There's no power. Okay, nothing. So the entire London is down. We have seen this happening in Chennai, right? So we have seen this happening in multiple places. So this is not something new. This is actually very common that natural calamities happen and the entire region goes down. In that case, what happens? So will my application be available?
no.
No, because
If it is
the
in same
entire region
region.
is down. That means my both the data centers down, right? Even though I have redundancy, that means I have the application deployed in two different data centers, right? But since the entire region is down because of the natural calamity, the application is not available in the entire region. So that means my application availability is still very, very unstable while if the entire region goes down. Make sense? Make sense? Yes, no?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Do you guys understand this? You have any questions?
No questions.
No question.
Good. Okay, now multiple regions, right? So what is multiple regions here? Now I have a London region, okay, and I have Mumbai region. Now in London, I have two data centers, and in Mumbai, I have two data centers. So there are two different regions now. London is one region, Mumbai is another region, and then I have data center one and the data center two in London. Similarly, Mumbai also I have data center one and data center two. Now, what are the challenges that this particular setup is going to solve for us? Right? So is this going to solve the slowness issue?
Yes. User
Is it going
sitting in Mumbai can access Mumbai data center. User sitting in UK can access UK data center.
correct? Correct. But is it going to solve the complete slowness issue? What happens if somebody is trying to access from Germany? What happens if somebody is trying to access it from US?
Yeah, it will provide authentication, but the data processing will get bit slow if you are it depend upon the
Exactly.
congestion.
Correct. Perfect. So that means this particular setup that we're talking about will solve the slowness issue partially, right? It is partially solved. It is not completely solving because there we have two regions now, one in London, one in Mumbai. So the people who are in UK, it will be faster. People who are in India, it will be faster. But people sitting in US, it will still be slow, right? So we're solving this slowness challenge partially, right? The second challenge that what we had, if the data center crash, are we solving this with this? If this data center crashes, this is still available. If this data center crashes, this is available. If this data center crashes, this is available. If this data center crashes, this is available. Are we solving this? Are we solving the data center crashes here?
Yes,
Yes, sir. But sir,
Yeah,
in this case, actually, it is going to increase the charges, correct?
correct, correct,
Yeah, but
correct. See, so talk about it. Very good point. 100% very good point. Right. So more and more regions that you use, the cost that you will pay will increase because you are installing the application in multiple regions, multiple data centers. So obviously the hardware cost and whatever the cost that is required for your application to be deployed on the cloud will increase. Definitely, yes. That is where the availability of the application comes into picture. That means how critical is your application, right? So that's the question that will come whenever somebody says, do I have a DR setup? DR is nothing but a disaster recovery. Okay, DR stands for disaster recovery. That means if some disaster happens in London, do I have a place where I can go and access the application from somewhere else? That's called disaster recovery. Now, the question that comes is, how critical is my application? Okay, say for example, Amazon, right? I'm going back to the same example of Amazon. Let's say Amazon, when you try to purchase Amazon, you get that, application not working. Okay, would you be happy with that? When you want to buy something and an application says, application is not available, I would definitely not be happy with that. That's number one. Number two is Amazon is losing business because the application is not available. I am not able to place my order. So Amazon is losing business. So Amazon as an application is a very, very, very critical application. And it is required to be available. It is required to be working all the time, 24/7, without any downtime. Even if something goes wrong in a region or something goes wrong in a data center, the application has to be available the entire time. That is all 365 days, 24/7, the application has to be up and running. For me to get that kind of a state where the application is up and running all 365 days, I am adding or I'm paying a little bit of additional money so that my application is up and running and I'm making that money from the business that I get. Okay, because if the Amazon.com goes down one day, they will lose crores of rupees. crores and crores of rupees because they make such a huge business every day.
Correct, correct,
But
correct,
yeah,
correct.
right. So that is where I mean, business criticality of the application comes into picture. That's the
Mhm.
question that we should ask. Should we deploy our application in single data center, in multiple regions? How the
Mhm.
application should look like comes from a criticality of the application. So when you go to the work tomorrow, right?
Mhm.
So, and then somebody comes and say, hey, you know what, I want to set up a DR. The first question that you should ask, okay, this is a very, very common, problem that every company face is what is the criticality of the application? Okay, just
Okay.
because somebody is coming and saying that I want to set up a DR, that does not mean that you should set it up. You should ask that question saying, what is the criticality of the application?
Sir, I
What
have one
if
more
the
question.
application? Yes.
Yeah, so where exactly data layer will be present into this kind of region? So because our application is one and our regions are different, so how it is going to communicate with the data layer? It will be different data layers for each and every region, or how exactly?
So if you are calling storage as a data layer, okay, if
Yeah,
is that what
storage.
you're, yeah,
Correct,
yeah,
correct.
right. Now, when I say data center, your application, your storage, everything is sitting there itself in
It
one
will be
data
like
center.
individually for each and every region.
Yes, there will be storage
Dedicated.
here, there will be storage here, there will be storage here, there will be storage here.
Okay, sure.
Okay, so
But
four
sir,
different storages will be there.
If
Yeah.
if if other person who is not belongs to that region, but he's trying to fetch a data from different region, so that time it is going to fetch same issue. Like it is going to take much more
Correct.
time and all.
Correct. Correct.
Yeah.
That is exactly why we have the data available in every data center, every region, right? What we can do is we can do a data replication between the data centers or between the regions.
That thing
That
we are
way,
going to do with this thing. Sorry, actually, unable to remember the tech stack. That one.
no, see, there are multiple, technologies that's available for database. We have, there's a data replication that's available on Oracle. We have a Golden Gate, for doing the replication. For storage on the cloud, there is a functionality provided by the cloud itself to do the replication. Okay, so there are multiple technologies that's available to do the replication. But for now, just
Okay.
think
The
that
same
we
thing we
can do
can
the
do with
data replication
Kubernetes.
between the
It is
databases.
possible.
Sorry.
Sorry, we can do with the help of Kubernetes replicas because we can create the replicas and all. So
No,
that
no,
thing we
no,
can
no,
do.
no. Okay.
So that will
The
be completely
Kubernetes
different.
replica is no, no. Yeah, that's a completely different. Kubernetes replica is completely different. We'll talk about it when we get to the containerization. We will talk about what is Kubernetes replica means. Okay. So that is not what the data replication is. Data replication and Kubernetes replication is replicas are completely different.
Okay, sure, sir.
Okay. Any other questions here? Okay. The third challenge that we had was what if the entire region, London, goes down? If this particular London as a region goes down, that means these two data centers are down, but my application is still available because people can access it from Mumbai, even though it is a little slow, which is fine, right? Which is fine, but the application is not completely down. So we are able to access the application. So if Amazon loading will take 1 minute for you, if this particular data center is up and running, if this data center goes down, you might take 1.5 minutes, but the application is still working. That is much better, right? So
But
you're
sir, that time
solving.
how it is going to connect with the database because that database is dedicatedly connected with London region. And
No, that's where the replication helps, right? So whatever the data that is there in the London will be replicated to Mumbai region. So all the data that is there in London is also available in Mumbai.
okay, fine.
So
So it will be
so
like
if
one
this particular data center.
centralized data center.
Yeah, so I mean, that's what I'm saying, right? There are different concepts and technologies that we use. We can use a centralized data center or a distributed data center, right? Distributed data center is where we have multiple distributed database. So distributed database is where we have multiple databases, right? And then you are, replicating the data between the databases. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Does it
And
make sense?
basically, sir, sorry.
Yes.
Actually, I want to know means the data replication take place. It gets synchronizing. The of replicating the data. It's the on time basis. No, whether it's regular basis or it's time domain like 1 hours or something like that. Because we don't know DR when it will take place. So during that instant, how we are going to get the data?
So it's a very good question, right? So when you do the set up the replication, right, you have a choices of, you can configure it to be active. That means you can replicate the data. The moment data comes into London, it automatically synchronizes to Mumbai immediately. Okay, without any delay. Without any delay. So immediately it will replicate the data to Mumbai region. That's one way of configuring it. The other way of configuring it is, if the data comes in London, and they will wait for about an hour, and every hour they're syncing the data to Mumbai. Okay. Now, what are the advantages and disadvantages of doing this? Right. If you're doing a inline replication, right, that means when the data comes into London, you're automatically moving it to Mumbai. The disadvantage of doing this is you're moving a very, very small amount of data on a very, very regular basis. Right? That's the disadvantage that you have. The advantage that you have is the data that we have in London and in Mumbai is in sync all the time, in line. Okay, so per minute, every minute the data is there. So if the London region goes down, you actually have all of the data that is there in London. You don't have to worry about the data. The disadvantage of doing hourly is because you're doing it on an hourly basis. If this data center goes down, you may lose 1 hour of data, which is not in Mumbai. You will lose 1 hour data, correct? So in what situation should we be using? Both the technologies are available, okay, for us. Now this is our discrimination, or it is our call on what to configure when, right? So it again goes back to the question, how critical is the application? How critical is the data? Is it okay for me to have 1 hour data lost if this particular region goes down? Is it okay with me? Is the application okay to handle that data loss? Or it is not okay for the application to handle the data loss? That's a question that comes in. And then this is an again architectural question, right? Saying, how do I design my application? How do I design my database? Should I have the inline replication so that all the data that is coming in one region gets replicated to the other? Or should I have a periodical replication where I can afford to lose 1 hour data or whatever the period that I choose to? Make sense?
Yes, sir.
Yeah?
Yes, sir. This is
Okay. Okay, any other questions here? Any other questions?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Okay, good. Now, so this is what we're calling it as regions, right? So if you look at this particular diagram here in the world, actually there are a lot many regions. Whatever the dots that you see here, these are all the Azure regions, and there are a lot more that have come up. Okay, there are a lot more that have come up, but these are all the different regions that we have within India. We have one in Chennai, one in Mumbai, one in Delhi. So we have 3 different regions in India. So we're calling it as South India, Central India, and North India, right? So there are 3 different regions within India, right? So that means in India we have different data centers, kind of an approach, right? So like we're talking about in London 2 data centers, in India we're talking about 3 data centers here. Make sense?
yes, sir.
Okay. Now, what is zones? Now we talked about regions, right? So regions, is everybody clear? Is everybody clear with the regions?
Yes.
Any questions?
No.
Okay, because this concept is very, very
But,
important, and
sir,
every one of us needs to have a very clear understanding of this.
Sir, I'm having one question. Means it
Mhm.
depend upon the data center is going to set up by the Microsoft. It depend upon the number of subscriber, or simply they are going to, the make it by geographical location, like be required in South Asia or be required one data center in Europe, like that. Means
So Microsoft actually looks at the demand, okay, and then they decide should we actually spin up a data center in that region or not, okay. See, for example, if you look at this South America here, right? So if you look at this here, there are only two. That is because there's not much of a demand. But if you look at US, there's so many data centers here, or there's so many regions available here. So it all depends upon the demand. So there is a team in the Microsoft who continuously monitors the demand. Okay. And then they kind of decide that which region should we be spinning up. Make sense?
yes, sir, I got it.
Yeah.
Yes, sir, I got you.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. See, there are some advantages here: high availability, low latency, global footprint, adhere to the government and legal regulations. Now, can somebody talk about what is this last point here? Adhere to government and government regulations?
Means it has to follow the rules of the specific countries. For like in India we have having information technology ministries over there for guiding up the the spectrums and the internationals security base, or the data centers which they are going to provide or allocate.
Yep, that's correct. So if you all know the GD, the red box country GDPR related, data restrictions.
Yes,
For
sir.
example, right? So there are red box countries, right? So for example, China is a red box country, right? So what China government actually has said is any data that is in China cannot leave China at any cost. The data has to reside only in China. It cannot go out of China. Okay, that means any company which is working out of China, their data has to reside in China only. They cannot, replicate the data to India or any other country. That's a government regulations.
And
Similarly, Australia,
sir,
yeah.
sir, I'm having one dot over there. Means, see, just you mentioned that the China having red zone over there means they are not going to get any data outside of the China. Then whether they are going to provide the remote working access to the employer. Means, suppose I am working on one of China's farm. So whether I am able to, get access to utilize in South India or the Central India, like that.
Yes. So there are certain companies which are very high confidential information, right? So say for example defense, China defense, right? Now China defense is a very confidential data that they have, and they do not want the data to be accessed. Forget about posting it, even accessing the data from outside China. They will not allow that. Okay. Some companies, like any software companies that we have, right, like Wipro, Infosys, any other organization, Amazon, Google, any of these, right? So they have a data which is little lenient, and government has given them an approval where they say you have to have your data located in China only. You cannot take the data out, but you can access the data from outside China. This is the liberty that the government has given. So this liberty depends on the kind of data that you're trying to access, how critical the data is.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Exactly. It's depend upon criticality, means
Yes,
or
it
the
is.
sensitive. Yeah.
How sensitive the data is, how
Yes.
confidential the data is.
Yes.
Depending on that, they will decide, well, we be able to access it from outside or not.
Oh,
Make
I
sense?
got. Yes, sir. It makes sense.
Okay. Any other questions on regions? No questions? Are we all clear? Are we are good?
Yes, sir. Clear.
Okay, perfect. So let's go to the zones now, right? What is zones? Zones is nothing but a data center within the same region, right? So take this here, right? Then we have a region and we have a zone here, which is one data center, and availability zone. This is another data center. Now, what are the advantages of the zones? Right now, if you want to have a high availability within the same region, that means within one region, I want to have two different data centers, and I want to make sure the application is available in two different data centers. So if one data center goes down, I still have the other data center from where the application can be accessible. We talked about it, right? So London having a two data centers, right? So that's exactly what this is. Now, the one of the biggest thing about zones is the power supply that the zone gets, the network connectivity that zone has. Okay, in all of that is completely different from each other. They're completely independent and they're completely different. That's the biggest advantage of we get as zones. Okay, so take an example within London, which is a city, right? Within London, if you have two data centers, we do not want the power supply to be coming from one single company. Okay, so because what happens if the power supply of that particular company goes down, my both data centers actually goes down. I don't want that. I don't want that in. I don't want to be in that situation. So the power supply that I take for one data center could be from a different company, and the power supply that I take from the other data center could be from another company. Okay, so the power supply is different. The network connectivity is going to be different. Okay, the MPLS connection that I have, the internet connection that I would have for the data centers is going to be different. Okay, so that's the advantage that I get in zones. Zones is nothing but a different data center in the same region. Make sense?
Yes, sir. Means
Yes, sir.
zone means a particular organization or company which is providing services.
No. So let's say Azure. Okay, Azure. Let's take Azure. India, right? Azure in India. I showed here, right? Here
Zone is
I
also
said 1, 2, 3, three data centers, correct? Right?
Yeah.
Three. So this is what I would call it as zones. This is South India zone, Central zone, and North India zone, right? So three different zones. So within India, I have three data centers. That means there are three different zones. The power supply that comes to South India could be from a different company. In Central India, it could be from Reliance. In North India, it could be from any other organization. Okay, the network connectivity, the MPLS link, the first one could be BSNL, second one could be Reliance, third one could be ACT. Okay, the internet connectivity that gets in to the data center is from a different company.
Okay, got it.
Okay, it is not the different companies hosting, it is the services. Because if you have to connect to any data center, you need internet connection, correct? For internet connection, they don't use the same company for all three data centers. They will use different companies in different data centers so that the network connectivity will never go down.
Okay.
Makes sense?
okay, sir. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any questions here? Any questions?
No, sir.
Okay, so one other thing to note is not all Azure regions have availability zones. Okay, that means there could be availability zones in India, there could be available zones in London and US, but there cannot be there is a high possibility that there are no availability zones available in South America or in Canada. Okay, they actually kind of does the again a business analysis on where does it make sense to have the availability zone, and accordingly they will create the availability zone. It is not that every region will have availability zone. Only few, I mean most actually have availability zones, few does not have availability zones when it comes to Azure. Okay, see some of the examples is US East, they have three availability zones. Europe West have three, Southeast Asia has three, Brazil has three, and you see the Central US does not have any. It does not have any availability zone in central US. Make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so that is covers the most of the theory that I wanted to cover. Let's get into the practically doing it, right? Now, before we do a practical thing, I wanted to cover a little bit about how Azure is structured and the hierarchy of it. Let me this right. Okay, now let's say this is, oops, what happened to this? Okay, this is on the Azure. This is called Azure. Okay, this is the Azure. On the top, there is Azure. Now, within Azure, we have something called as this one is called tenant. Okay, this is called tenant, and within tenant, we have something called as don't go with the spelling. Don't worry about the spelling as of now. Within subscription, I have resource group. Within resource group, I have resources. Okay, this is the hierarchy. Okay, now I'll explain this a little bit. This is the complete Azure, which is provided by Microsoft. Within that Azure, there is something called as tenant. Okay, so what is tenant? Tenant is a logical separation of Azure for every company. Okay, say for example, I run a company called XYZ, and I want to create multiple subscriptions, or I have multiple applications that I wanted to host on Azure. So I will go tell Microsoft, hey Microsoft, you know what, I'm interested in using Azure. I need a tenant. So what they will do is they'll create a tenant for us and then say, this is your tenant, you can go ahead and use it. So this tenant will not be visible to anybody else. This will not be, accessible by anybody. You as a, company will own the entire tenant. This is just a logical separation. This is not a physical separation. This is a logical separation. Okay, so that means you are getting a part, you are becoming a part of Azure as a tenant. Make sense? Okay, it is like a, Azure as a, Azure. Let's consider Azure as a, the builder who has multiple houses in his name. Okay, multiple houses. He has a, apartment. He owns the entire apartment. Now I go and tell, hey, Azure, I need a house for rent. Okay, then he will say, okay, this is the flat number. This is where you can go take a look at it. If you like it, this is the house that I'm giving it for rent. Now what I become to Azure, I become a tenant to Azure who owns the entire building. Make sense? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Now under tenant, we have subscription. Okay. That means, let's say I rent out a house and I have 4 bedrooms in that house. Okay. I have 4 bedrooms in that house. Now what happens is, now more than 3 or 4 friends are staying together in that house. Now one bedroom is given to one person. Correct. One bedroom is given to one person. So within tenant, I have 4 bedrooms. Okay, one bedroom is called as subscription. Okay, so every one application within that company, one application, okay, can be deployed on a subscription. There can be multiple applications deployed on a subscription, but for making it simple, I'm just saying that one application, one subscription. So one person, one bedroom. Okay, so within the tenant, I can have n number of subscriptions created, and I can associate those subscriptions to the every application. Now, what you created just now by using your credit card, okay, it is a subscription that you created. Actually, you created a tenant and you created a subscription. Okay, you created a tenant and you created a subscription. Every one of us now have a Azure tenant and Azure subscription because we created that about an hour ago. Make sense?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Do you understand the difference between Azure tenant and subscription?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Yes. No. Any questions?
Yes, sir. Actually, tenant is the virtually exactly. I'm not getting about the tenant right now because I know the Azure subscription, but tenant means yeah, it's virtual connection between the Azure. It depend upon the subscriber though who are going billing to utilize the Azure platform. They have to take subscription, but tenant, it's not clear
See,
about
when
me.
you have multiple subscriptions, okay, when you have multiple subscriptions, those subscriptions has to be under a single tenant.
Okay.
Now we all have one separate subscription, correct? Tomorrow, if you want to create another subscription, it has to be under the same tenant.
Okay.
So that the billing can actually happen at the tenant level, not at the subscription level. Today, whatever the subscription that we have created, billing happens at the subscription level.
Subscription. It's mainly depend upon it's mainly for the organization. Suppose one organization having the different employers, and for different employers they are going to provide a different subscription. So the billing will take place on tenant basis only, no?
That is absolutely correct.
Okay, I got it.
That is absolutely correct. Okay, tenant is primarily for a organization, not for individual. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yeah, it makes sense.
Sir, sorry, I lost in between. Can you please brief again?
So the question that
Shortly.
the question that was raised is what is tenant? Okay, so tenant is a logical separation or it's a virtual separation. It is given to the company. Okay, if I am an XYZ company, I can own a tenant. Okay, now if I own a tenant, I have you all as as employees, and each one of you are owning an application. I can create one application for Aditi, another application for Sunil, another application for somebody else, another subscription for somebody else. Like that, I can create multiple subscriptions under the same tenant. Okay, so one tenant can have multiple subscriptions. Make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So once you have a subscription, under subscription, you're going to create a resource group. Resource group is like a folder. Okay. So resource group is like a folder. You can create multiple folders under a subscription. So you can create multiple resource groups under a subscription. Okay. And under the resource group, you're going to have the resources. Now, what is resources? Resources is nothing but a storage account. You create a, you create a VM. Okay. You create a subnet. You create a virtual network. All of these are called resources. Under resource group, the resources has to reside. Resources cannot be outside a resource group. Resource has to be within a resource group only. Make sense?
Yeah.
Make sense? So do you understand the hierarchy now? How the hierarchy works?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
First Azure, then tenant, then subscription, then resource group. Under resource group, we have resources. Make sense? Is that okay with everyone? Any questions
Yes,
here?
sir.
Yes, sir.
Everybody's mind, this has to be very clear. The hierarchy has to be very, very clear. We have Azure, tenant, subscription, and then resource groups. We do have something called as management groups over and above tenant. I will not go in detail about management groups at this point in time. I don't want to confuse you guys. Okay, for now,
Okay.
for a simplicity's sake, just keep it Azure, tenant, subscription, and resource group and resources. Okay, is everybody clear with the hierarchy?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Now let's get into Azure. Okay, so what we have now is a subscription, correct? What we have is now a subscription. Now for us to create a VM, what we need next? What do we need? What is VM?
Resource.
Virtual
Is it a
machine.
resource group or is it a
It is
resource?
resource. It is
Say
resource.
that again.
It is resource.
It is the resource. So where the resource can reside?
Resource group.
It's in the resource group. Now we have a subscription. What do we need to create?
Resource group.
Resource.
Perfect. So we have to create a resource group. So you can actually click on the resource group here. Right. So don't do it. Okay. I'll give you time to do it. When I'm doing a demo, just watch what I'm doing so that you can create it, later. Okay. So you can
Sir,
actually, yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
having one query. The video you are of the class, whether you are going to share it so that when we are going to practice of the class, means after the class, then if we are getting any problems over there, then so that we can refer
Absolutely,
or no.
yes. Yes, yes,
Okay,
yes. I
okay.
think I will ask, yeah, I will ask the, Pooja, who's coordinating with you guys to share the video because this recording is going on. Okay. We'll share the video with you guys.
Sure, sure, sir. Thank you.
Okay.
Also,
So,
can we get the PPT you are presenting?
yeah. Sure. I'll send that across. Not an issue. I'll send it. So in the
Thank you.
resource group, you click a create here. Okay. You click a create. It will come here. This is the subscription. We just called free trial because every one of us actually gone for a free, right? So that is why it is
Uh,
free trial.
Sir, we can create one or more resource group in a single subscription,
You can create hundreds of resource group. No
but
stops.
it depend means charge. What about the charge
No.
they are going to?
Resource group is there is no charges.
Okay, okay, sir.
Charges is only for the resources, not for the resource group.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Okay. Now you type the name of the resource group that you want. Say for example, I'm going to type my name, and then it's saying region. In which region do you need this resource group to be created? Now we know what does region means, correct?
Yes, sir. In South
Right?
India,
So
Mid Central
yeah,
India.
South India, North India, whatever, right? You were saying East US here, right? So I will look for say India. So we have South India, West India, Central India, right? So for now, I'll just click Central India here, okay? And then, I will just say create, it actually does the validation here. Say it says validation passed, and then I will say create. Okay. Now, if you look at it, there is a resource group called Samir that has been created, right? You can see the name here as Samir. The subscription is free trial, right? So in this case, the subscription name is a free trial. Under that, I have a resource group created called Samir, and then it is under a location called Central India. Okay, Central India location is nothing but a region which is Central India. Correct? Yeah. Now, if you click this resource group, do I see anything here? Okay, you can see no resources match your filter. So that means there are no resources that's available because we have not created anything. This is a blank resource group that we have. It's like creating a folder and not adding any files into it. Right? We just created a folder, but we have not added anything into that folder. It is something that We have created a resource group, but we have not added any resource into that resource group. Make sense? Yeah?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. So can you all go ahead and create a resource group under each and everybody's subscription? Okay, whatever the name that you like, you can give that name. Okay, and create a resource group and put a comment in the chat that you're done. Let me know if you see any difficulties.